Hello and welcome to the show that combines science, math, and research to create the amazing thing that is the overly complicated and unnecessary book analysis. Today we're going to be looking at the book by the Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard, and we're going to be answering some of the major unanswered questions throughout this entire book. Before we start, I gotta say that this book is so good, but honestly very frustrating. Looking at you, Prince Maven. I thought he was a nice guy, but nope. Speaking of spoilers, this video is going to be full of them. I've only read the first book in this series, so if you read beyond that point, some of the things I might hypothesize may seem like questions that are possibly answered in the sequels. Also, again, there are going to be a lot of spoilers because this book is pretty complicated and needs some explaining to do for people who have not read the book. So you have been warned. So let's start off with the basics. The Red Queen takes place in an area where there's division between people based on the color of their blood. That's right, blood color. The Silvers, who have people of silver blood, being the important people, and the people with red blood being the peasants, servants, and slaves. Also, everyone with silver blood has a special ability. For example, some Silvers can control fire, metal, or water, while some can go into people's brains and read their memories, while Reds don't really have any of these abilities. Anyways, the main protagonist of the novel is none other than Mare, who is red-blooded. Mare later on receives a job as a servant in the kingdom and gets to watch silver people contest to become princesses to the princes Maven and Cal. During this event, Mare falls into the electric shield that separates the watchers from the arena. She does not become harmed and is discovered that Mare is red-blooded but has an affinity with electricity and lightning as if she were a silver. The first of the three main questions is, how is Mare's ability possible? I started to do some digging within the text, and there's no evidence to support that Mare's parents are silver of any kind. The conclusion I came to is that there's a major genetic mutation, so I did some digging. There is a hereditary mutation, which is a mutation that's passed from parents to their offspring. Obviously this wasn't it, because Mare's parents don't have any ability. There's also a thing called somatic mutation, which is caused from the environment and only affects certain cells of the body. For example, overexposure to ultraviolet rays from the sun could lead to a somatic mutation. When I saw this, I thought that maybe the electric shield that Mare had fallen into had affected her like this, but the primary problem is that somatic mutations only affect some of the human cells, not all of them. Also, before this incident even took place, Mare could feel the electricity from cameras in the kingdom, which is part of her ability. This means she had her powers before the shield incident. This alone rules somatic mutation out of the equation completely. Are you not convinced? The blood storage is described as a place where in the kingdom it keeps samples of blood from civilians to keep track of them. When Julian looked at Mare's blood to see what was different between it, he noticed significant things that he did not really explain. But if he did find something, that means mutation is affecting every cell of the body instead of some. A third mutation type that I found was the de novo mutation. Let me explain. This mutation is a mutation that affects all the offspring cells, but the parents of the offspring do not have the mutation. This mutation is not from family but created entirely anew when the organism is created. This is dead on to what Mare seems to be presenting. It explains how Mare has the ability but her parents don't. Even where she lives, it can explain why she hasn't realized her powers before she went to the kingdom. She lives in a town that can barely pave its own road, so there's definitely not enough electricity for her to even notice. The only contradicting information to that is at the end of the story it is revealed that Mare's dead brother Shade also has this mutation, and he was killed for it when he was in the armor. The odds of siblings having the similar de novo mutations are very slim, but not impossible. Now to the last two questions. How does Mare create electricity, and what is the true magnitude of Mare's ability? So in the Red Queen, Julian discovers that Mare has the ability to control and create electricity, while Silvers only have the ability to control. Obviously, it's impossible to literally create electricity because matter cannot be created or destroyed. My hypothesis is that Mare is taking electrons from molecules in the air. That's right, the air. The elements can still be classified as matter as long as there's still at least one electron in each atom. There is not much evidence to support this in the text, but this theory is going to be important in answering the next question. If Mare does take electrons from elements in the air, then how powerful is she really? There are many elements in the air, but the primary two elements that appear are nitrogen and oxygen, and for the purposes of this video, we'll only be using those. So let's do it, because let's face it, the 0.0000087% of xenon in air isn't going to change much of our calculation. So, There are approximately 25 septillion, or 2.5 times 10 to the 25th power in scientific notation, atoms per cubic meter of air. We know that nitrogen takes up about 70% of the atoms in the air we breathe, so we multiply 2.5 times 10 to the 25th power by 0.78 to get 19 septillion 500 sextillion nitrogen atoms per cubic meter of air, or 1.95 times 10 to the 25th power in scientific notation. I did the same calculation for oxygen since oxygen takes up about 20% of the air we breathe. I multiplied 25 septillion by 0.2 to get 5 septillion atoms of oxygen, or 5 times 10 to the 24th power in scientific notation. I multiplied the amount of nitrogen atoms by the amount of electrons in a normal nitrogen atom minus 1 because we need at least one electron to stay there for the nitrogen to still be considered matter. So I multiplied 19 septillion 500 sextillion nitrogen atoms by 6 electrons per atom of nitrogen and got 1.17 times 10 to the 26th power electrons. I did the same for oxygen and multiplied 5 septillion by 7 and got 3.5 times 10 to the 25th power electrons, for a grand total of 1.52 times 10 to the 26th power electrons. Now with that number we can use to find the amount of amps this will produce per cubic meter. We know that each amp of electricity takes up about 6.25 times 10 to the 18th power electrons per second. So if we divide 1.52 times 10 to the 26th power by 6.25 times 10 to the 18th power, we get a whopping 2.432 times 10 to the 7th power amps per cubic meter of air. Now let me put that in perspective view. In standard form, that number is 24,320,000 amps of electricity per cubic meter of air. The average wall outlet uses 15 amps per second. This is just over 1,621,333 times one wall outlet. Still don't believe that's a lot? Each lightning strike is about 5,000 to 50,000 amperes of electricity. For Mare, 1 cubic meter of air would equivalent to about 4,864 to 486.4 times more electricity than a lightning bolt. Mare is essentially more powerful than most silvers in the Red Queen due to this ability to create electricity. So that's it. That's the end of this analysis of the Red Queen. So what have we learned today? We've learned not to mess with people who can take power out of the air by the amps by the million. Thank you for listening to my theory on the Red Queen. All citations for this research in the project are in the cutting research analysis file inside of the analysis folder. Thank you for listening.